So the first question, Ben, antioxidants. We've been hearing mixed messages of late as to whether they really are beneficial to our health. Some sources are saying that we need some of the free radicals in the body to clean up, repair work and toxins, etc. But too many antioxidants will go in and take out the good free radicals as well as the bad. So could you just give us your view on this, please?
Well, let's talk about what an antioxidant is, first of all, and what oxidation is, for that matter. So if there's any biochemists in here, don't hold my feet to the fire on this, because I'm going to try to be really general, assuming most of you guys aren't necessarily chemists or biologists. I'm just going to be really general and not be too specific and too detail-oriented, just to get the idea of what antioxidants are. So the whole universe, all of reality, all of our physical world is made up of atoms, right? Atoms are building blocks. If you look at the periodic table, I'm sure you guys know what the periodic table is. It's like this. Right? You've all seen this little box here, this little chart with boxes, right?
Yeah.
And each one of these boxes is an atom, and that's what all reality is made up of. Each one of those atoms has two little pieces on the top, right? Technically, we call them electrons. We'll just say little pieces on the top. And when they have two little pieces on the top, they're happy. However, every once in a while, something comes along that knocks one of those pieces off, and now you have an atom that only has one piece and has an empty space. Atoms don't like to have one piece and an empty space, and they will search around for another source of atoms to fill that empty space. Even if they have to steal, even if they have to rob an electron from another atom to fill that empty space. Think of a rogue male. A rogue male doesn't care where he's going to find a partner. He'll just steal it from another couple, and he'll just take that female and fill up his space. That atom with an empty space and one electron that's had its electron knocked off is called a free radical. Does that make sense? Did I explain that okay? So you have atoms, they're supposed to have two pieces on the top. When one piece gets knocked off, there's an empty space, because atoms always like to have two pieces. That empty space becomes a problem, and it will look around for an extra electron that it can steal to fill its empty space. Now, the typical way these electrons get knocked off, or the most common way that those electrons get knocked off, is with something called oxygen. Oxygen is a very powerful element that knocks off electrons. It steals electrons. Thus, the technical name for stealing electrons is called oxidation. If you've ever heard that term, oxidation. Now, you can always observe a stolen electron by a color change. When an atom has its electron stolen, it will exhibit a color change. There's some very interesting reasons why that occurs. I'm not going to get into that. But the fact of the matter is, you can always observe an oxidation reaction by a color change. And the classic example of an oxidation reaction is when you take an apple and cut it in half and leave it sitting on your counter for an hour or two. What will happen over time is that oxygen will turn brown. What's happening is some of the components in that apple are being stolen by oxygen in the air, and the apple is actually oxidizing, or the components of the apple are becoming free radicals. If you take lemon juice and squeeze it on that apple, you won't get the oxidation. Have you ever done that? I'll just talk to you, Marilyn, because you're the only one that's up. Have you ever done that, where you squeeze lemon juice on an apple to prevent oxidation? Have you ever heard of that happening? You know what I'm talking about? So the classic example of an oxidation reaction is you slice an apple, leave it on the counter. The oxygen in the air will rob electrons off the elements inside that apple, and the apple will turn brown. It will oxidize. If you take lemon juice and squeeze it on that apple, that doesn't occur. The lemon juice prevents the oxidation from occurring because there's something magical in the lemon juice that doesn't do that, that blocks oxidation. That magical substance is called an antioxidant. An antioxidant prevents this free radical reaction from occurring. Of course, in lemon juice, there's vitamin C, and that vitamin C is the antioxidant. And vitamin C has a reputation for being one of, if not the most powerful dietary antioxidant you could use. So what an antioxidant does is it prevents this loss of electrons off of atoms, thus quenching or blocking the formation of free radicals, acting like an antioxidant. Now, this oxidation reaction doesn't just happen in response to oxygen. That's just when it was first discovered, they noticed it was oxygen that was doing it, so they call it oxidation. But Here's a phenomenon called photooxidation. Photooxidation is what happens with sunlight. When you get a tan, that's another example of an oxidation reaction. Melanin, which is your pigment, will actually oxidize in response to sunlight. That's called photooxidation, and that's actually a good thing. That oxidation reaction is why we get a tan, and the way nature has it set up is that photooxidation will actually cause the melanin, your pigment, to become darker so that it blocks damage from further damage from sun rays. It's actually functional. As you were pointing out, oxidation can actually be very functional. So sometimes you want oxidation. You don't have to worry about controlling oxidation or antioxidation by taking too many antioxidants. It's one of the problems with taking antioxidants, and this is where antioxidants get a bad rap, is the way antioxidants work is they contribute one of their electrons to the hole that's left in a free radical. So the free radical is technically an atom that has one electron in an empty space. The way an antioxidant works is it contributes, or we say donates, one of its electrons to fill that empty space up. But now the antioxidant itself has an empty space because it's given up one of its electrons. Is that making sense?
Yep.
And so now the antioxidant actually becomes a free radical. And this is where antioxidants get a bad rap. Sometimes people say, well, that antioxidant actually is a pro-oxidant. It's actually a free radical itself, and that's true. It will temporarily become a free radical until another antioxidant comes and donates its electron to that free radical that's formed from the antioxidant, which has become a pro-oxidant. And now that antioxidant will become a free radical. So then you have to have another antioxidant that contributes to that formerly antioxidant. This is a chain reaction. And so what I'm saying is, yes, it's true that temporarily antioxidants will be pro-oxidants when they give up their electrons, but the way you prevent this from happening is you keep a steady stream of antioxidants coming in. So there's always antioxidants to donate electrons to free radicals. And that's why you always want to be keeping a steady stream of antioxidants in your diet. The best source of antioxidants by far and away are going to be vegetables and fruits, because vegetables and fruits are constantly subject to photooxidation. They're in the sun. They thrive in the sun. They grow in the sun. They depend on the sun. So nature has equipped them with lots of wonderful antioxidants to protect them from the sun. When we eat those fruits and vegetables, we get the benefits of those antioxidants. So the reason behind where you hear sometimes people will talk about how antioxidants are problematic is because temporarily when an antioxidant gives up its electron to fill up that empty space, it becomes a pro-oxidant or a free radical itself. The way you get around that is by keeping a steady stream of antioxidants coming into the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not a question of are free radicals bad or are they good? Yes, it's true. The body does use free radicals to clean things up. That's one of its mechanisms. But you don't have to worry about antioxidants stopping that from happening. That's never going to happen. The real problem is if you only have a certain amount of antioxidants, eventually even the vitamin C or the vitamin E or the selenium or the vitamin A, all of these nutrients which act as antioxidants, temporarily they will be pro-oxidants. If you don't have a steady stream of antioxidants coming in, it's like musical chairs. The antioxidant will stop at the pro-oxidant stage, and it can become problematic. So you got to keep a steady stream of antioxidants coming into the system.
What damage do they do if they're not controlled?
That's a good question. Okay, so when you have a free radical, the question was what kind of damage can they do? So here's the answer. When you have a free radical with an empty space, right? Atoms don't like to have empty spaces, and they will look all over to find a source of electrons, even if they have to steal them. One of the richest sources of electrons for a free radical to steal from is the membrane on the outside of a cell. The membrane on the outside of the cell is a rich source of electrons that can be stolen from. And when you have enough free radicals stealing electrons from the outside of a cell, you can damage cells. And so oxidants or free radicals can be cell damaging. Even worse, another rich source of electrons is the nucleus and the DNA. That is your cell, the blueprint for all the energy or for all the information in a cell. And eventually, a free radical can find the DNA and can oxidize the DNA, at which point you can get mutations. And that's where cancer comes from. So eventually, if you have enough free radicals, you can have cell damage, and even DNA damage leading to cancer and mutations. So it can be very problematic. Free radicals can be very damaging to cells and ultimately damaging to the DNA, which can lead to disease, cancers, mutations, and various diseases. So free radicals can be very dangerous, and that's why nature is filled with antioxidants. That's why most of our diets, if we're eating correctly, have lots of antioxidants, the mighty 90 essential nutrients. Many of them function as antioxidants. If you're eating correctly, that is lots of vegetables and lots of fruits and vegetables, produce, and then eating lots of, make sure you're getting your mighty 90 essential nutrients, you'll have enough antioxidants to protect that from happening. If you don't, you're going to have these rogue elements, these free radicals that are scouting around looking for rich sources of electrons that they can steal from. And if they find the cell membrane, that can lead to cell damage. And if they find the DNA, that can lead to cancer and mutations. Okay. Pretty much all damage, all cellular damage and all aging damage is the result of some kind of oxidation reaction. This is a very important biochemical process that needs to be controlled, and that's why antioxidants are so important. And if you're hearing, I don't know where you're hearing that you have to be careful with antioxidants, it's not true. You want to be pounding yourself with antioxidants. Everything you eat should have some antioxidant potential. When a food is processed, it loses its antioxidant properties. Processed foods don't have anywhere near the antioxidant potential as fresh foods, because they've already been damaged. Cooking is one of the great ways to destroy antioxidants. What's that?
Antioxidants.
Yeah, somebody's saying vegetables are loaded with antioxidants.
Vegetables are loaded with antioxidants, but when you cook them, they lose their antioxidant properties. So fresh vegetable. Yeah.
Are there any Youngevity supplements that
yes, all of them.
Yeah,
the mighty 90 essential nutrients, all of them. And the antioxidant properties are measured by ORAC, by an ORAC score, O-R-A-C. And many of the Youngevity products have high ORAC values.
Yeah.
So you want to look for high ORAC values for antioxidants. And there's pretty much all the nutritional Youngevity products. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine is loaded with antioxidant properties. There's a couple specifically that are designed to be antioxidants, but just if you get on the mighty 90 essential nutrients, the Healthy Start Pack, you'll get plenty of antioxidants. Plus, make sure you're eating your produce, your fruits and vegetables.
True that the chocolate is the highest?
The chocolate has a good source of it. Berries are always a good source, so anything that has berries in it is going to have high ORAC value. Yes, cacao, real, not chocolate bars, not Hershey's chocolate or the kind you buy in the drugstore, but real cocoa has a very high antioxidant value, yes.
Yep.
But the Youngevity chocolate is particularly high.
Youngevity chocolate is a good source, yes, absolutely. The darker the chocolate, Youngevity chocolate is dark chocolate. The darker the chocolate, the more antioxidant properties it has.